Hey, house guests! Welcome to today's Big Brother 27 updates and spoilers. I hope you're all having a wonderful Waffle Wednesday, and this house is freaking waffling. Hey, everybody in the chat watching live. Christine, Custom Charm Farm, Good Taste. The house has been crazy. I feel like the last few weeks have just been extra nuts. Laura's here. Dawn, Mindy, hey everybody, welcome to the show. Our house guests of the day today, we have Shaylin, we have Chance Pryor, and we have Jimmy Owens. Thank you all so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate you all so much, so thank you. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day in a future live stream, just send us an email to madrosed@gmail.com, and we will get you on the list. Just make sure you put house guest of the day in the subject line, and we'll get you on there. All right. So, oh my goodness. Let's get into it. When we left off yesterday, we had Riley, Mickey, and Morgan up on the block. So after the power veto ceremony, Rachel was telling everyone that Lauren knew Riley would go up if she used the veto. It was an F around, find out situation. And Lauren was denying this to people up and down. She was saying, this was Lauren's story. She said, Rachel told me that she had to consider all of her options, even possibly some of my allies, but she did not mention Riley's name specifically. And Lauren was saying this to so many people all day after the ceremony. So after lying about it all day, Lauren finally admitted to Catherine and later also to Riley that Rachel did in fact name Riley specifically. But she's like, I didn't think Rachel would actually go through with it. I didn't know she would do that. So Catherine and Riley are like, it's okay, we still love you. And Rachel is so evil. She set you up so that she could put all the blame on you for this. But this is all Rachel's fault. In reality, Rachel really did not want that veto to be used. She wanted Vince to stay up on the block with Mickey and Morgan. And then whatever happens, happens, right? Mickey goes, whatever. But yeah, I mean, she's not going to say that she's going to do something and then not follow through with it. So Lauren found out. But let's talk about Tuesday, yesterday, because we had some very potentially exciting stuff happening yesterday. So Rachel, Will, Ashley, and Morgan were all chatting in the HOH room yesterday. And they were talking about how they would like to form a real alliance. Yes. With the four of them. And Vince. Oh. No, how real is this then? How real is this if they're going to include Vince in this alliance? Because Vince is aligned with like everybody. So is he really aligned with anyone? Who is he truly loyal to? So let's set that aside for now. But Morgan says, I want to play this game and I have been paranoid because of Mickey and things that she's been saying to me. Hey, side note, Morgan and Ashley have been comparing notes on Mickey a lot these last few days. So they are both seemingly out from under Mickey's spell. They're seeing what she's doing. They don't like it. And Morgan says, I hate that it has to be this way because I want to believe that Mickey has my back. And I think she does somewhat. But Morgan says, I think Mickey would vote me out. And Ashley and Will say they feel the same way. They do think that Mickey would vote Morgan out to keep Riley. I could totally see that. Mickey is like in love with Riley. I don't get it. I mean, every time people bring up him yelling in her face after she stole his HOH, I feel like we only saw the tip of the iceberg from the aftermath of that situation on the show. I feel like production has been hiding some of the other stuff because it sounds like it was really bad. But for some reason, Mickey is like obsessed with the idea of working with him and like wanting to hang out with him. I was like, what? So eventually, this group brings Vince into the room. Please don't blow this. Please do not destroy this. Please don't destroy. So the Mickey exposed party continues. Morgan lets Vince know that when Mickey was HOH, she really wanted to put Vince up as the replacement nominee. And Morgan says, I had to cry to keep you off the block. I had to really, really go for it. But all that being said, all the stuff that's coming out about Mickey, Riley is this group's number one target. Rachel says that Showmance has to be split up. She talks about her own experience as a former showmancer, right? She says the further that me and Brendan got on our seasons, the more powerful we became. Because your 2 votes, I mean, for a veto competition, you got 6 people playing. The Showmance could be 2 of those 6. They have 2 chances to win that veto. Also, they're always going to pick each other over anybody else. Riley is really good in competitions, mental, physical, endurance. He is unfortunately very well-rounded for competitions. So he's got to go. So Morgan's asking Vince, do you think you'd be able to convince Keanu to vote Riley out this week? Because she says Riley has to go. Judging by Keanu's reaction when Rachel put Riley up on the block, that's going to be a tough sell. He is obsessed with the idea of working with Riley and Riley staying in this house. So before Vince can give an answer, Rachel's also asking, how do you think Keanu feels about me right now? Because I'm the one that put Riley on the block. So Vince says, well, Keanu was frustrated with Riley going up. He didn't want him to be up there. But, excuse me. Vince says that Keanu does a really great job of justifying everything Rachel does. She does it for a reason, and it does make sense. And Keanu values that to a certain degree. So Vince says, I would like to think that Keanu also values my opinion. So maybe if he has both of us telling him the same thing, I think he would have to consider what we're saying because he does trust both of us. So Vince says, I'm going to have to go about it in a non-direct way, maybe get Keanu to realize on his own what needs to happen here. Do you think Vince is serious about this? It's so hard to say. But Rachel says, in Big Brother, when you get a chance to take a shot, you have to take that shot because you don't know when you're going to get that chance again. And this is similar to what she was saying to Keanu the other day about why Riley has to go. She says Riley could win this next HOH and put any of us up on the block. But if we take him out now, we don't have to worry about that. Mickey is going to be so much easier to beat in competitions than Riley. Also, going back to the whole Showmance angle here, if Riley and Catherine get to jury, they're going to have 2 votes on the jury. They're going to vote together. And Rachel says if one of them is in the final 2 and the other one's in the jury house, the one in the jury house is going to be campaigning hard for the other one to win. And Vince is like, oh, I didn't even think of that. But would Vince flip his vote and vote out Riley? We'll see. More on that in a bit. But this group of 5 does solidify. They are calling themselves the judges because they say we decide who goes home. This is one of those things where I'm like wanting it to be a thing. I would love for this to be a thing, but I am skeptical. And the number one reason why I'm skeptical is because of Vince. Because Vince is... he's playing the middle, right? He's playing that rat game. He's playing that snake game. But this group is talking about how they really need to focus on trying to flip both Keanu and Lauren's votes. Also, Ava, potentially Ava. They just want to make sure the votes are there for Riley to go. So, after this conversation, Rachel chats with Keanu in the have-not room. She's trying to break through that wall again. So, Keanu is still saying, I respect your decision to put up Riley, even though I don't agree with it. So Rachel is trying to push why Riley has to go. And she is using this Showmance angle that the judges were talking about earlier. And she's like, I won season 13 because Brendan was campaigning for me every single day. in the jury house. He was able to explain all of my game moves to everyone, and I probably wouldn't have won without him doing that. She's like, of course, I played a great game. I won competitions, but he really drove it home with everybody. So she's also talking about how showmances vote together, but Keanu, he still doesn't want to hear it. He thinks this is the wrong time to take out Riley. He says it's too early. We got to wait longer before we do this. He says, I need Riley here in order for me to get deep into this game. Because I guess he feels like Riley is a shield for him. Riley is not coming for him. And Keanu says he wants Mickey out this week. So Rachel is arguing we're going to have a much better chance of beating Mickey in competitions than we would against Riley. And she says Riley is going to win HOH and he's going to put you up on the block. He said it to my face. Keanu still doesn't want to believe this. Oh. So these two are still not on the same page, but they are being their usual selves, joking around with each other, whatever, but game-wise, not on the same page. So a little later, Morgan and Vince are chatting alone, and the Mickey Exposed party continues. Vince brings up how when Rachel told Keanu about the Heavy Hitters Alliance, Keanu then went to Vince and was asking him about it. And remember how Vince went to Morgan, Zach, Mickey? He gave all of them a heads up, like, hey, I want you to know Keanu is asking about this. He knows about it. So I just want to make sure our stories are straight so we don't get in trouble here. Sorry. Once I start, I can't stop. But he says, I told Mickey about it to give her that heads up. And then Mickey went straight to Rachel and told Rachel that I told her. And then Rachel told Keanu. And then Keanu was pissed at me since I was the one talking to other people about this. So Vince says, if you look at it here, Mickey is the one spreading stuff all over the house. I mean, I think a bunch of people are spreading stuff, but Mickey is definitely spreading stuff. And he says she is playing the way that Jimmy was, but she's doing a better job of it. So Morgan's like, interesting. Morgan has her own tea to spill. She admits that she knew about Mickey's HOH takeover power this whole time. She says, Mickey told me about it right away. Oh, so it's all coming out now. I mean, the fact that she's bringing out this info is a pretty good indicator that Morgan is over Mickey at this point. So Vince is wondering, we're saying all these bad things about Mickey. Should we keep Riley then? Should we vote out Mickey? Would anyone even nominate Mickey again? Is she just going to fall back under the radar? But no. Morgan shuts this down. She's like, Riley's got to go. People will look at Mickey still. She is on people's radar. Riley has to go ASAP. So guess who interrupts this conversation? It's Mickey. She's like, why am I never invited to these meetings? Ugh. Yeah. Let me get some water. Sometimes I wonder if the water will help with the yawning. But in other news, Riley and Catherine got into a little tiff last night. What's new? Catherine was pissed this time because she heard that Riley said Catherine doesn't actually like him and she's just using him for game. Now, I believe she heard this from Kelly, Ms. Instigator. The instigator strikes again, but Riley's like, oh, I'm sorry. Don't be mad at me. I was just joking. And she tells him, don't say stuff like that. It's not funny. I'm a little bit slower than you with like being comfortable with the whole showmance thing. And hearing you say stuff like that, it makes me feel like you really think that that's what's going on here, that I don't like you and I'm just using you. And she's like, that's not the case. So he asks her for a kiss. And she's like, I don't want to kiss you. Woo! And then he keeps like begging for kisses. She keeps telling him no. And he's like, I never question the way that I feel about you. I'm going to marry you. Like, I don't think you ever question the way you feel about me. I'm going to marry you. I can only listen to so much. It's too gross. I can't. But he says also, like, we don't kiss as much as we used to. You always back away from me. You always brush me off. And she's like, I don't want to be doing that in front of everybody. There's cameras around. Like, she's not comfortable with that, but he keeps pushing. And he's telling her, you don't get to leave me. You're stuck with me. I'm a grown-ass man who knows what he wants. I hope he leaves Thursday. I'm so done with him. He is so toxic and bleh, I can't. But moving on, a few quick things from last night. Morgan and Mickey promise that they're going to vote to keep each other if one of them wins the blockbuster competition. Mickey is saying, I don't know what I would do without you in this game, Morgan. I need you in this game. I don't know. I still wouldn't be shocked if Mickey voted her out and kept Riley. But they are pretty confident that Vince would vote to keep either one of them against Riley. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Vince is all over the place. So a little later, Vince is chatting with Kelly, and he's talking about how he wants Riley going far in this game with them. He's telling Kelly, Riley's going to be a shield for us. He's going to protect us. And Kelly's like, absolutely. I would love to go to the final 3 with you and Riley. Oof, that would be a disastrous final 3. I don't even want to think about that. But Vince is saying he would love it. He would love to do that. However, if that's going to be possible, they're going to need to get Catherine out. Someone's going to have to take that shot. He doesn't want to do it. He says Lauren's not going to want to do it because she's close with Catherine. And Kelly's like, I guess I'll have to do it. Can you imagine Kelly HOH? But yeah, that's down the line. So again, it's hard to say how Vince would actually vote this week because he is making promises left and right? He's promising his vote to everybody. So back to Riley and Catherine. They're talking a little game now. He is laying out his plans for what he would do next week. And he's saying, if I win HOH, I'm targeting Rachel. Wow. What a surprise. But he says, I would put Rachel up on the block with Keanu. Keanu would be a pawn. Oh, so like he would put Keanu up. Now he's not saying he's targeting him, but he is saying he'd put him up on the block, even after all that drama about Keanu being like, would you put me up? And Riley's like, no, never. I'd never do that. Apparently he would. But he does say to Catherine he would be fine with Keanu winning the veto as long as he doesn't use it on Rachel, right? He wants to make sure that Rachel's not going to take herself off the block. So Riley says Rachel looks so stupid, so foolish to the world for putting me up. I'm not going to speak for the whole world, but me personally, I can't get enough of it. I'm loving it. So I'm loving seeing Riley on the block. But Catherine says she wants to rip Rachel a new one once Rachel is nominated. And she's going to say like, oh, you're one of the people that knows what it's like to be targeted for being in a Showmance. Like, how dare you? All right, well, we'll see how that goes for you because I don't think Rachel's going to take to that too kindly. I think Rachel would eat her up. But anyway, Riley and Catherine have been talking a lot of shit about Rachel. So last night, Vince checked in with Lauren. And Vince is like, I feel stressed. He says half the people are telling me that Riley's a target. Half are saying that Mickey is the target. So Lauren, we know, wants Riley to stay. She has said if Riley goes home because of her using the veto, she's going to be so upset, even though Rachel said that Riley would be going up. But she would be so upset and she would feel responsible for that. So she wants him to stay for sure. And she's asking Vince, who is the other half? Like, who wants Riley to go? So Vince says, from what Morgan tells me, acting like he wasn't in that judges meeting. But I mean, it's encouraging at least that he's not spilling about the judges to Lauren, not yet anyway. But he says, from what Morgan tells me, Rachel, Will, Ashley, possibly Ava, but he's not sure if Ava is included in that group. Apparently, they all want Riley to go. So Lauren's like, well, that group doesn't have the numbers. So it doesn't matter what they want. So Vince says, well, people are pulling me one by one, and they're telling me that Riley is too dangerous in this game. He's in a Showmance, and because he's in a showmance, that's 2 votes that could potentially be against you, and 2 people who will always pick each other over you. And Vince says, everybody's also telling me that you could be a swing vote too, and you need to know that Riley would pick Catherine over you. I mean, 100%, he absolutely would pick Catherine over anybody else. But the feed switch at this point, no, I'm trying to hear this. It sounds like maybe, just maybe, Vince is trying to put out some feelers, see if maybe Lauren would potentially flip her vote to get rid of Riley if he stays up on the block. Maybe he's just trying to see if there's any possibility there. But a few minutes later, these 2 are in the storage room, and now Lauren's like, I'm nervous. And Vince is like, well, I think I'm going to be the swing vote. So now I'm nervous. These 2 are the freaking nervous twins. So Vince says, the way he's looking at it right now, if Mickey does not win the blockbuster, if she stays up on the block, he is voting her out no matter what, no matter who she's up against. He says, this is the best case scenario. This is the cleanest option, right? Just get rid of Mickey. Now he's saying, like, I need Riley or Morgan to win this because he wants to be able to just vote Mickey out. But he says if Mickey wins and it's Morgan versus Riley up on the block, that's going to be really hard for him. He says, I love Riley, but I'm also close with Morgan. So then they go to the wine room to talk about this a bit more. And Vince is like, oh, I can't talk about this with anyone else except for you, Lauren. Like, I hope you're not going to tell anybody. I can't be open like this with anyone else. And Lauren's like, of course, like, I don't have any other number ones. Well, Vince does. So Vince says, if it's Riley versus Morgan on the block, he really wants to keep Riley at all costs. But he says people are looking to target pairs in this house, right? He says everybody seems to be paired up. And he says they see me and Morgan as a pair. And if I vote to evict Morgan, they will start to see you and me as a pair. This is a very interesting way for him to be framing this. I feel like while it is a valid argument, it's a bit of a reach, but he's realizing this is his way of like bringing this up to Lauren without her immediately shutting it down and saying that she wants to keep Riley. So I'm interested to see where this is going. But at the time, Rachel busted into the room and interrupted the conversation. And she was like, I want to get to know Vince better. So she starts asking Vince about his life outside of Big Brother. So that was it for that combo. But Rachel was putting in some work with Vince last night. These 2 stayed up until like 3:40 a.m. chatting, bonding over being millennials. Hey, talking about real life stuff. And I just feel like Vince seems so much more comfortable in this conversation with Rachel than he ever has before. It just seemed very natural and like they were actually getting along, talking about family, talking about the state of the game a bit. So I'm wondering, like, are the judges actually going to be a thing? Is this an alliance that's going to stick? I don't know. But then today, Vince was promising his vote to Riley in any scenario. I love you. I don't want you to go. And like, we knew that he was going to be promising his vote to Riley. Because, like, obviously he's going to play the middle. We don't even know who's going to still be on the block for the vote. That's part of the trickiness with this season and last season. You don't know who's going to be up there on eviction night because of the blockbuster. So, I mean, he doesn't want to tell one of the nominees, like, I'm not voting to keep you, and then that person wins the blockbuster and they're still there. So, like, he doesn't want to do that. But also, maybe he really is voting for Riley to stay in any scenario. It's very hard to say at this point. I will say, I feel like Vince has been hanging out with the pro Riley side of the house like so much more today, which makes me nervous. Riley's been talking mad crap about Rachel and like Catherine, Lauren, Kelly, Vince, even. They're like all eating it up. They're loving it. Makes me sick. So Vince's vote is very important. But also, Ava has become important at work. Ava is an important vote here, and she's got a lot of people looking at her, wondering what she's going to do. And at first today, it appeared that she was leaning towards keeping Riley, and she was telling Will that she feels like Riley already has the votes to stay. She does not want to be on the wrong side of this vote, and she does not believe that Vince would vote for Riley to go. She says there's no way he's going to do that. And I think she had even already talked to Vince, and they were talking about keeping Riley. So whenever anybody tells her, "Hey, I think Vince might get rid of Riley," she's like, "Really?" Because that's not what he said to me. So she doesn't feel like the votes would be there to get rid of Riley. Also, if it's Mickey versus Morgan on the block, she has been saying she would prefer to keep Mickey. She's closer to Mickey. However, she's also heard a lot of things this past week that she did not like about Mickey. She's even heard that Mickey would consider putting her up on the block as a pawn. So she's not going to stick her neck out for Mickey. She says Mickey has made her bed. I'm not going to lie in it. She said that so many times this week. So if the votes are not there for Mickey, she will not be voting to keep her. So like, yeah, if it's Morgan versus Mickey, it seems like Ava would keep Morgan. Also, just before this stream, Morgan was putting in some work, some good work with Ava, hopefully, maybe convincing her to vote out Riley. I definitely think that Ava now, after talking to Morgan, is wanting to keep Morgan over Mickey at least. But in the whole like Riley versus one of the girls situation, it's still up in the air, right? Ava knows she's got to talk to some other people and see what they're thinking. But yeah, it's hard to say what Ava would do because she is very concerned with being on the wrong side of the vote. So I think she's going to need to get some assurances from other people. But as it stands now, the way that it looks, it seems like Mickey is the most in danger. I think she would be leaving unless she wins the blockbuster. As of now, again, things could change. Riley seems the most safe. If it's Riley versus Morgan, I'm kind of getting the vibe that Morgan would go. I'm seeing Vince leaning towards Riley's side, but again, you never know what's going to happen tonight. It is Waffle Wednesday, so there will be plenty more discussions about this vote. So we'll see how it all plays out. I'm exhausted just thinking about it, but also curious to see what's going to happen here. This is a very pivotal vote, I feel like. But I want to thank you all so much for being here, and I want to give a special thanks to our super chatters. So Teresa, Terry, Sousa, thank you so much. We really appreciate you, and thank you for the adorable sticker. Wendy Will, thank you so much. Shout out to Canada. Wendy says, I have crossed my fingers and toes for Riley to go home. I know. I would love to see Riley go. As much as Mickey has annoyed me over the last few weeks with her HOH-itis, I would love to see Riley go. Mickey can go another time. We need to get Riley out when they have the chance, but it's all going to depend on what happens with the blockbuster competition too. So I'm with you there. I would love to see Riley leave. Connor Benson, oh my goodness. Thank you so, so much for the very generous super chat. You are amazing, and we appreciate you so much. Connor says, here's my take on Vince. He knows Morgan leaving is awful for his game. If he can play the middle while plotting to vote out Riley, I'd respect his game more. And this is just my take. As long as Riley is still there, he won't fully have Lauren. I would agree with that because while she does say that Vince is her number one, she still is very attached to both Riley and Catherine. She knows that they can win competitions to keep her safe. They've got like this like young person bond, I feel like, you know what I mean? Because they're closer in age than she is to Vince. I just feel like she's really buddying up with them lately. And I also feel like she feels like she owes them because she used the veto and Riley went up on the block as a result. And now that they know that she knew about it ahead of time, that he was going up, I feel like she really thinks she owes them. So I don't see Vince getting Lauren on board to vote out Riley, but it is possible maybe Vince would flip and vote out Riley, and then they wouldn't need Lauren's vote. Oh my god, this is so stressful though. There's just so many possibilities. Yeah, and I mean, he is clearly trying to play the middle right now, but it's only gonna last for so long. He's already been caught before, so I do think also he's gonna be in the shits if Morgan goes, and he knows that, but I don't know how much he's willing to stick out his neck for her at this point. Thanks again, Connor. True Teddy, thank you so much. True Teddy says, I love how you always switch to mimic Riley's grumpy voice when quoting him. I die laughing every time I hear it. Oh, thank you. Truth be told, that's basically my impression for any guy that I'm like not a fan of. It's just my guy, angry guy voice, I guess. I haven't put as much thought. I used to do a lot of impressions of these house guests. If you guys have been watching for a long time, I've kind of like moved away from it a little bit, but yeah, I could put a little bit more effort into the accent and all that, but that is basically just my generic guy I don't like voice. But thank you. Sean Davis, thank you so much for the super chat. Sean says, I can't wait to see everyone's reaction when they get out of the house about who Riley really is. I know, right? I feel like they all seem to assume that America loves Riley, and I don't get where that comes from because I feel like he just seems so unpleasant to be around. So I don't know why they assume we would like him. I don't get it. But I mean, we've also heard little bits and pieces of people being like, um, not necessarily say, well, okay, here's what I'm getting at. Just last night, there was a comment about how everyone loves Riley in the house. And then Vince was like, well, everyone's scared of Riley. That's why they don't want to put him up. And again, they mentioned how he yelled at Mickey when she took over his HOH. And I'm sure that's not the only instance, right? But um it does seem like people are starting to maybe realize that he's not super likable and people are leaving him alone nomination wise more out of fear than anything else. And that's super messed up. But yeah. I mean, we saw too when Jimmy was evicted, he's been doing a lot of lives and everything, and people asking about why everybody seems to think Riley is so liked. He was very surprised to find out what we all really thought of him. But anyway, Sean Davis also wants me to do my best Lauren impression. Oh boy. Okay, so this is my Lauren. I she told me that she was gonna have to consider all of her options and she didn't say Riley's name specific specifically and okay, so like she did say it. I don't know. But that's what I got for today. But thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I'm going to go because we do have an episode recap tonight and I got some stuff I got to get done before that. But I hope you all yeah, do a super fast impression, right? I do need to talk a little bit slower when I do my Lauren impression, but anyway. Thank you all so much for being here. I will see you later for the episode recap. And until next time, much love. Bye, everybody. Have a great Wednesday. Bye.